What is up, everybody? What a fun weekend it was. All right, thanks for coming back to Jim's Proving Ground and for a nice, exciting show. Recap of the weekend, what happened, and geared up for the next week. Oh, man. I had to take a sip for that one. That was a pretty jam-packed weekend. You know, I had a pretty good 305 card for the UFC. UW is actually getting to their groove. They had their mock game this weekend where the first team took on the second teams and vice versa for the defense and offense. And the Mariners lost the series to Pittsburgh, which, good for Pittsburgh. They snapped their losing streak, which they haven't won a game since August 3rd. Good for them for finally getting a win, but just had to be our demise, really? And now we're 4 games back from the Houston Astros. Man. And they got to go to the Dodgers. Okay. All right, well, let's get into it. Let's start off with the positives, okay? And then work our way down to the negative. Okay, let's start it off. All right, UFC 305. Really good card. A lot of good build-up to it with Dricus Duplessis versus Israel Adesanya. He had some really good up-and-comers there. You had some brothers fighting. You had, Reyes, his brother, Alex Reyes, the older brother of Joseph Reyes, right? I can't remember the younger brother, but the older brother, Alex Reyes, he was fighting. You had Gilbert Burns' brother, Herbert, fighting. You had a heavyweight in Tafa. He was fighting, which that was in controversy. So, all right, well, let's get into it, okay? Let's start off, work our way up. Well, we had a surprise. You got some guys that are really going to watch out for, okay? And the fighters on this card, obviously, they're in Perth, Australia, so they're going to bring in a lot of Australian talent, a lot of guys from New Zealand and Australia, so it's going to be heavy hometown favorites on that card, right? So let's start off with, Tom Nolan. He showed out, and he was going against Alex Reyes, the older brother of the light heavyweight. Reyes, the one that went against John Jones, who I think is retired now, I believe, after his last fight. And Tom Nolan, wow, this guy is smooth. And he was going against Alex Reyes, and Alex Reyes is no slouch. Guy is tough as nails. He was taking every single shot, and he kept coming, but then he just kind of dominated him the entire fight. Thought he was going to finish him at some point in the fight, maybe first or second round, but Alex stuck in there. Got to give it credit to him. He is tough as hell. But yeah, Tom Nolan got the unanimous decision win, so good for him. And then next up on the another prelim guy that was really fun to watch was this guy named Jack Jenkins. Man, and he was going against Gilbert Burns' little brother, Herbert. And this guy, he is an up-and-comer. And fun fact, Herbert has actually never been finished. Ever. Never been finished. This guy is good and tough, but Jack Jenkins, he's just on another level. He was just coming at him. He knocked him out. I think it was second round, I believe. And wow, really impressive. Can't wait to see where this guy goes with his future because it is bright, especially knocking out this kind of dude. I mean, he kind of made him look silly. He was just really, really smooth. And then I want to touch on this last one on the prelim card. And this one was real controversial, okay, in the heavyweights. Yeah, Junior Tafa going against Walter Walker, okay? Now, this fight, obviously, Walter Walker, he's a jiu-jitsu guy from Brazil, and Tafa's more of a striker. And it was pretty obvious in the fight that's where he was going to go. Walter does not want any part of striking. He's not a striker. I don't think he can take a punch. He was getting wobbled by Tafa in the beginning. And Tafa was just kind of teeing him off him. Then, Walter goes to the ground and kind of played it there for the rest of the round and was slow playing. And then there was, I think, 10 seconds left in the round. And Walter went for a heel hook. And all Taffa did was scream because he was in pain. He didn't tap. He didn't say, I quit. Nothing like that. But the ref called it anyway. Said he tapped. And they did the replay 3 different times. Did not tap. Real controversial. Didn't see that ref again the entire night. And I think for damn good reason, because I think he sucks. That guy's bad. He's out. Real controversial. And then what was even worse after the fight, Taffa and Walter had some words. Taffa even gave him like a little slap just because I think we're still talking shit because of how the fight ended. It was dumb. And I think Taffa's going to get a talking to and a little bit of a fine after that one. But what was strange is that Walter in the mic tried to play this like card, and when he was talking to Daniel Cormier, he was like, I'm going to go for the bloodline. I'm going to go for Taffa's older brother. I'm going to kill your whole bloodline and get your brother. And then talking like he really whooped his ass, in which he didn't. Really wasn't dominant. You don't have any striking ability. That's kind of a dick move and kind of cowardice a bit to be that way when you know you didn't really win that convincingly. Yeah, no, not even Dana White's going to give you an attaboy for that one. That was a kudos for you for having a dumbass ref. That's how it's going to shake out. So that's how that one happened. That was a really weird one. I believe if the fight would have won on, Walter would have just crashed because he's got no chin, and Taffa would have knocked him out. But in the end, Walter won, got the win, but nothing's actually going to go forward in his career from this one. So that's the prelims. Watch out for Taffa though. That guy is actually going to be good. Walter, not really. But Taffa, yeah, once he starts getting that ground game and actually being able to stuff takedowns, when he starts getting that down, watch out, because he is heavy hands. All right. That's the prelims I want to touch on. Next, I'm just going on to the main card. Going with Carlos Pratis. Man, going against Li Jingliang. I'm sorry I butchered that name, my friend. I'm terrible with that. But man, and Carlos Pratis, kind of getting a big name now. He was a Contender Series with Dana White's Contender Series thing. He showed up and showed out and got a lot of fanfare, a lot of hype coming with him. And he did not disappoint. This guy, ooh, watch out. And Li Jingliang, he had a 2-year layoff, right? And he just had that injury, but he's been fighting, I think, 2014 in the UFC, so he's experienced. He's a good striker. He hasn't been finished, striking-wise, in a long time. I mentioned that on Friday's show. But, yeah, this Carlos Pratis, man, he just kind of made him look silly. And, I mean, it's nothing against him. It's just that Carlos Pratis is that good. He's on another level. He is fast. He's young. He is powerful. And he's tall. Oh, my God. He's like 6'3". And for being in that division, that is big. And, yeah, he's going to be a him. He is going to be one of those dudes. So in that division, watch out. That is a guy you're going to need to keep an eye on. All right, let's go tackle one that was tough to watch. Really hard to watch with Tai Tuivasa versus Rozenstruik. Rozenstruik was getting the better of the strikes faster than Tuivasa. And I said this in the show on Friday. My head said Rozenstruik. My heart said Tuivasa. I should have gone with my head on this one. Tuivasa, man, he did the best he could. He was staying in there. He was trading with them. He wasn't backing away from it. He wasn't shying away from, any strikes. But Rozenstruik, he was actually just too quick. It was actually one of the better fights he's had. And it was because of the fact that Tuivasa let Rosenstruck actually control the fight and kind of dictate the pace. And that's when Rosenstruck's actually at his best, when Rosenstruck's getting pressured and he's kind of having to, roll away from the cage and kind of getting chased. That's when he's in trouble. But he wasn't doing too much of that on Saturday. He was actually in control and was able to fire off his jab, and he had their reach on him. It all kind of worked for Rosenstruck, and he just kind of played that game the entire fight. And Rosenstruck actually got the win for that one. But there was actually some controversy on this fight. And it might play out with some of these. It might give a little bit of hindsight 2020. You might want to think about it. Now that we're thinking about it, these refs actually might have played a part. But what happened after that fight, one of the judges got pulled. I forget which judge it was, but one of them got pulled after that because one judge gave Tuivasa all 3 rounds. And there's no way he won all 3. He might have given 1, not all 3. First time I ever seen that, where a judge got pulled in fight card. At least I've never heard of it. But yeah, maybe a little bit of hometown crowd, maybe trying to get the hometown guys some wins. Don't know. I don't want to speculate. Okay, all I know is the result of what happened. Okay, a guy got pulled, that was a judge. But even then, it didn't help because the other judges scored it the right way, giving Rosenstruck the win. And unfortunately, I think this was Tuivasa's last fight in the UFC. That was 5 in a row that he's dropped. And with as much promise as he had and how much fanfare he has and how much of a fan base he has and how much of an exciting thing is when he wins, he's drinking beer from a boot. He just has that personality like, it's kind of like Derek Lewis a bit. When Derek Lewis goes after the interviews and he's going with Joe Rogan or Daniel Cormier and he's like, I gotta take these shorts off, man. my black ass is too hot and sweaty. I gotta take these off, He just got that funny stuff about him. He's charismatic. The fans love him. It's great. I just think this is the last time you're going to see him in the UFC, unfortunately. But on to the next one. But hey, even if this is Tui's last fight, I want to say thank you, man. We loved watching you ever since you came onto the scene. It's been a blast seeing you. You're a hell of a fighter, and hope you land on your feet somewhere. Maybe get an announcing thing, commentator, something, because you belong in this sport somewhere. Hats off to you. Thank you for all you've done. If this is your last fight, we appreciate you. All right, on to the next. More positive. Yeah, Dan Hooker going against. Oh God, Gamrot. Going against Gamrot. And this one was good. Good back and forth action. Gamrot was actually getting the takedowns early. And kind of busting up Dan Hooker. But Dan Hooker's got that kind of almost Nate Diaz kind of way about him, to where he fights better when he's kind of getting busted up. You're like, oh, the blood's flowing. He cut him up. And, that's not a bad thing for Dan Hooker. He actually kind of fights better when he's in that kind of way. Kind of gets him in that mentality. That's how the Nate Diaz brothers were. And he just kind of fought better as the fight went on. And he was stuffing takedowns from Gamrot. And he was hitting Gamrot with some big shots, and Gamrot was hitting him with some big shots. I mean, it was a really, really good fight all the way into the end. It was great to watch. And I didn't know how this one was going to land. Gamrot did get takedowns, but Dan Hooker was doing a great job of kind of getting him into the rear naked choke and then kind of flipping it around. It was a lot of great work on the ground. And when it came to the decision, I thought the judge were going to give it to Gamrot. And then the judges came out, it's a split decision. And Dan Hooker came out on top. I didn't know. I mean, I wanted Dan Hooker to win. The way I was seeing the fight go, I thought Dan Hooker, the way he was fighting, I thought there was a chance. Like, it was about a 60, 40, 70, 30 chance, on the 30 or 40 side, that he might get the nod. was not optimistic about it, but got the nod, got the split decision win, and damn good for him. Guy has been in UFC for a long time, and he keeps turning back the clock. He's on his 3-fight win streak now. He is way better than what he was, even 5 years ago. And he's turning back the clock. He's getting to be one of those old guys, one of those, journeyman fighters where some people said that, he might want to hang it up and he's on this losing streak. Look at him now. He's kind of changed things around. Said that he's actually just wanting to go out there and have fun and fight, not worried about what's going on. I hope he goes for the title run. I really hope he does because he is an exciting fighter. He is down. He's scrappy. Got that Max Holloway center of the cage. Let's just bang it out, right? So, really good fight for him. Glad the decision broke his way because sometimes, man, it will not. Seen it too many times. Next, we had Kai Kara France going against Steve Erceg. Now, I actually tagged Steve Erceg to win this one. And it was looking that way. Steve Erceg was, kind of that quicker fighter. He was the more poised. He was the more patient, but not like patient as in just not doing anything, but really picking his shots. And doing great, right? He was fighting how he should. He should have won this fight. But Kai France, being the smaller fighter, he had to find a way inside. And he kept trying to find it. And he got it. First round knockout. And he stunned him. And kind of like stiffened him up, right? As soon as he went to the ground, but he kind of picked himself right back up. Steve Erceg went stiff and then popped right up. It was like Lazarus. It was amazing for him to even get back up after the shot that he took. But then Kai Kara France, man, he just pounced right on him, and then I think gave him another left hand and dropped him. That was it. And Steve Erceg finished first round. Hats off to you, Kai Kara France, man. That was impressive. That was wow. That was good. I am impressed. Maybe you're on the way to getting back up in that title shot, man, because that showed a lot of people that you're still in it and you still got it, and you might get a title shot from that one. That was good. All right, and that was the co-main event. Let's get to the main event. And if you watch the show on Friday, you knew who I was rooting for. And it was going great. Okay, the Izzy and Duplessis fight was going great for Izzy. And it was a really good contest. Both guys were banging it out, but I thought that Izzy was getting better at the strikes. Duplessis was actually reacting a lot more. It seemed like the strikes were hurting him a lot more. All the way through the third round. But then you saw something in Izzy that I personally haven't seen from Izzy. Even when he was going that, that was a 5-fight in 18 months kind of reign, And I think he needs to work on his cardio because he was getting tired. What I saw was Izzy getting tired throughout the fight. Not the first 2 rounds, but definitely about maybe 2 minutes, 2:30 kind of area where he was slowing down. He was really actually getting tired. You saw him taking some deep breaths when Duplessis would go for the ground game. I think it actually took a lot out of him. Getting out of the wrestling that Duplessis was putting on him and the pressure. And you really saw it in the fourth. And that's all it was. And Duplessis just kind of had more in the tank. And I think he trained on his cardio a lot more. I think he's got more. And he just kind of dropped Izzy and got on his back, worked that choke, and then finally got him. And Izzy had to tap. But I really do think it's because Izzy got tired. And that's something I've never seen before. I never thought he'd actually be one of those guys that actually got tired. I mean, I've seen him in the Robert Whittaker fight. I saw him in the John Strickland fight. You saw him in a lot of wars. And I've never seen him really get that tired. So, I don't know if it's an age thing or a training camp thing or what. But he did look tired on that one. So, fortunately, that's how that one shook out. That's a wrap. On my bets that I placed on Friday, I went 3 for 3. So, 50% chance of winning. Not the worst. Not the best percentage either. But that wraps up UFC 305. All right, let's get into some Huskies. Okay, so big thing that happened this weekend on Saturday, and it was kind of hard, trying to keep track of the mock game that UW was having on Saturday along with the UFC card that was happening. So, trying to switch between two screens. But what I saw going down was, it was a mock game. Obviously, they didn't have a lot of first team going on first team. Like, the starters going against starters. It was, starter versus second string and on offense and defense, right? So it really didn't tell you a lot kind of going into it. But some of the things that we can take away from it is that Will Rogers is a solid QB. We have a stacked running back room with Jonah Coleman. You got Sam Adams back there. You got Cam Davis. I mean, it's a good room, right? And going into the Big Ten, you're going to need that. You're going to need a lot of running backs you can throw at those guys because it's a different kind of competition going from Pac-12 play to now Big Ten. When you have to go against the Michigans, the Ohio States, the Indianas, the Penn States, it's different. It's different, different kind of brand of football. And even Urban Meyer said it when he did an interview on Friday or Saturday. So they're going to need that, and that's good. Wide receiver room is getting to be kind of ironed out, and you got highlights with, transfer guys like the Jeremiah Hunter. And you have one of our guys that's kind of staying with the team, and I'm glad he did, and Denzel Boston. And then you still got the guy that came over from Michigan, Giles Jackson. And so you're getting solidified on the wide receivers, running backs, and quarterback. Okay. Only thing it's solidified, but it's not the best, is the O-line. And it's not the best because they're not the healthiest. You're still missing Gerard Malamar. You're still missing him. You need him back from injury. You need him back on the O-line because it's just not the same without him. They're not gelling as quick. And I have a feeling they're making kind of a mistake. They're bringing Landon Hatchett back from an injury that he suffered last year. Trying to work through it in the spring and fall camp. And he's limping after every single series. So, and I get it. They only got 2 weeks left, and they got to kind of throw him in. I understand it. But it's definitely not the O-line that we saw last year in the national title game. It's unfortunate, but we'll see how Jed Fish plays this. It's gonna be. I'm very curious. I'm not worried about the Weber State, but I'm curious how it's gonna play out when they go against Washington State. That Washington game is close. It's gonna be an ugly season. Ugly as in 6-5 win season. If it's ugly or even Washington State wins, it's gonna be a long season. If it's dominant, hey, 8 win. Hell, even maybe 9. Maybe 9. That's the most optimistic side of me that I can give for wins this season. But that's the offense. The defensive side of the ball, you got your stalwarts there on the linebacker with Carson Bruner. Cam Fab, he's still doing his thing out there. You got the transfers. Price Hawk is out there. There's some stalwarts back there. And the safeties and the CBs, the DBs, they might not be elite, but they are solid. They're good. They can make it work, okay? And if last year is any kind of cursor to that, if you got a decent enough offense, it can kind of make up for some of the defensive shortcomings. But one thing that is kind of up and down, and still kind of a question mark, is how the D-line played in this mock game. You had the Jacob Bandis there. You had Lance Holtzclaw there. You had Lance Holtzclaw there. Even Sebastian Valdez. And it wasn't like they were dominant. It wasn't like they were getting in on every single sack. It wasn't like they were there on every single tackle. They were getting beat too. They were high rated coming in. But the proof is going to be in the pudding. I mean, yeah, we're going against our guys. I am cautiously optimistic about this D-line because there's a lot of potential there. But we won't know until game day. Once you step up in competition, once you start to have that first, Big Ten game, we'll see. Especially when you have to go travel to Penn State on a whiteout game. How they're going to do? We don't know. But cautiously optimistic. I'll say 8-9. At the worst, I will say this is a 5 to 6 win season. Okay, one thing that we did not get to talk about on Friday, kind of got cut short on time, was there was a little thing about Jim Harbaugh. It's kind of ridiculous. The NCAA handed down this punishment against him for the recruiting violations or whatever, where suspended for 3 games, but there was nothing really there. It's kind of like what happened to Pete Carroll when USC did its thing, and then he was already with the Seahawks with the whole Reggie Bush situation. It was like, okay, what does that mean to me? I'm not in the NCAA. I'm not even coaching there. I'm with the NFL. So eat shit, because that doesn't matter to me. So it's kind of dumb. Don't even know why it was a thing. Why even punish him? The only thing that actually did come of it was Jim Harbaugh was going to be an honorary captain for a game with the Michigan Wolverines, but now this got handed down by the NCAA. He's not going to be an honorary coach anymore. I guess it's more kind of political and to save face for Michigan, but they're like, whatever, I don't care. We'll probably beat him anyway, whoever we're going against, but oh well. Jim Harbaugh can't be there. Big deal, right? Who cares? The other thing I want to talk about, and I know this is petty, but I got to talk about it. It just kind of irritates me. So, top 25 came out, right? And you got Oregon, I think, sitting at number 3. You got all these guys up and down the 25 rankings. UW's not even on there, okay? I say there's something wrong with that. You were just in the national title game. I get that a lot of guys left, a new coach is coming in, but it doesn't mean you're a terrible program. Does that warrant not even being ranked in the top 25? Seems a little bit weird. And with Oregon, I swear to God, Phil Knight is pumping all these people in marketing at ESPN. I swear he actually is like an owner of ESPN. He has to be, because Oregon was the same exact way last year. They got, all this fanfare. Lost twice to the Huskies last year. That was an amazing thing to see, by the way. 3 times in a row. On away, home, and on neutral field. Sorry, Oregon fans, but had to be happy about that one. But Oregon at number 3. And when you lost Bo Nix, you lost some of your wide receivers, and you lost a lot of people. Yeah, you got them in transfer, but so did we. So why is it that you're warranted at number 3 and we're not? I don't understand that. And it's all part of the fishy NCAA and the marketing and the propping up teams without even playing a game, and it's basically who is a sexy team. I always think there's something wrong with that in the NCAA. But anyway, thought it was kind of weird that UW is out of it, but you see all of these other teams that are in. It just seems like not everything's on the up and up. I could be wrong. Just my little conspiracy theory. Take it for that. All right, let's go on to one or the other. The last subject of tonight. The Mariners. Our beloved Seattle Mariners. they needed a series win here. Okay, they kind of needed. They needed every single series win. So when they drop one, man, it's another heartbreaker. Okay, and they had to go against the Pittsburgh Pirates, and the Pittsburgh Pirates are on their own losing streak. Again, like I said, they hadn't won a game since August 3rd. It's kind of like the White Sox. It's supposed to be a gimme. And then, of course, they're going to win one and might win a series, and you just hope to God you're not that one when you really need it. And we got the double whammy. It just happened to land on us, where they won 2 games, and we just could not find enough offensive power, except on the last game where they won 10-3. It is what it is. You know, it's getting the dog days. People are getting tired. People are getting injured. The hard hitting. And I mean, the thing is, you're getting hitting from pretty reliable people, right? I mean, Robles is hitting. Cal's hitting. I mean, even Ty France was hitting when he was here. There are some people that are, they're constantly going to get on base. They're going to hit doubles. I mean, Canzone's hitting. Rojas is hitting. Rivas is hitting. But it's not the big home runs. It's not the 3-run homers that you're looking for to win these games when you're getting 7 runs on you, 5. When you're getting more than 5 runs on you, you need some home runs. And the singles and doubles just aren't going to cut it. And that's kind of what we're experiencing here in this one. And it seems like that's kind of been the downfall so far when they went against the Tigers. When in this series, it's tough to watch. And what makes it hard, it kind of reminds you of those days when the Mariners were really good and they kind of break your heart at the end, right? And then you had those little seasons for like 10 years where it was just, they were just bad. They weren't making the playoffs. They just weren't a good team. And, the Hernandez years, they just weren't. And I'm not sure which one I want to take, because in the beginning of the season we had all this hope. They were at, this 60-game mark, and we were, 10 games ahead of the Houston Astros, and it was like, oh man, we just keep this up, we're just going to blow them guys out. Well, of course we're going to the playoffs. We're way ahead of these guys, man. We'll be fine. And now it's getting the dog days, and now you're coming in September here in a couple weeks, and this thing can go off the rails really quick, and now you might not even make it into the wild card. Hey, just hoping to not get our heart broken this year, hoping to make it into the wild card, and I'm really hoping to actually catch the Houston Astros and then get our number 1 spot. We just have to get things squared back up. I mean, it's good to see that Julio's back in the lineup after his little, twist of the knee at bat. But we need Julio to turn it up like now. We need deep ball threats. We need Cal to keep hitting those home runs. We need some big hits. We need them in the worst way. And hoping and praying, crossing my fingers, doing every little trick in the book that I can, where inside out and backwards, all the superstitious things, hoping that the Mariners make it through. Okay, not sure it's gonna happen, but hoping they will turn it on here this late. You've seen crazier things happen with other teams, right? Where they just turn on the last month of the season and they're there. And hey, what's that old saying in baseball? It's the most dangerous team is the people that are turning up hot, and they are white hot at the end of the season, because that's the perfect spot that you want to be going into the playoffs, and no one wants to play you. When you are, it hits, and you're on a 10-game win streak, and you're going at it, and everything is clicking. And there is a lot of baseball still left to be played. It's just getting down to the wire, and I'm hoping they can turn it on soon. But that's it for me. That's my hopes and dreams. Let's see here. Coming up this week, you got the Mariners heading to LA. Going to take on the Dodgers. See how that goes. Hoping and praying on that one. For the Huskies, just kind of more practice. I got 2 weeks until Weber State and should have a lineup, and we'll see. It's kind of a nice JV team to come in and kind of give you a little benchmark, give you a little bit of a measuring stick of, okay, this is where you're at, all right. And then the next game, more measuring sticks. You get 3 measuring sticks until you get to Big Ten. We'll see how they do on this first measuring stick. All right, well, that wraps it up here. I will see you guys on Friday for what's happening this weekend and get you all prepped for it. My predictions of what's going to happen, and hopefully I have a better percentage of winning next weekend at the fights. All right, guys, take it easy. Have a good one.